morning, everybody. It's Monday. It's the beginning of a brand new week. And you know, it is such a beautiful day outside. It's a little bit overcast, but it's a beautiful spring day. And so I thought this day that we would talk all about nature. So I have books for you today about nature. And first and foremost, I wanted to say thank you for all joining me today. You know, this is a very important part of my day when I get to reach out and just read some stories and sing some songs with you. So thank you for inviting me into your home today. And let's get started, shall we? Let's start with a little hello. Hello, how are you all? Hello, how are you all? Hello, how are you? I'm just fine today. I'm glad to see you here today. I'm glad to see you here today. Glad to see you here today. I'm so glad to see you. Let's see. What do you say we rock side to side? Get our steps just going. Here we go. Sit in your seat, rock side to side, and sit in your seat, rock side to side. Sit in your seat, rock side to side. I'm so glad to see you. You know what? I'm feeling a little sleepy this morning. What do you say we stretch? Stretch, stretch, stretch as tall as you can, and stretch, stretch, stretch as tall as you can, and stretch, stretch, stretch as tall as you can. I'm so glad to see you. Okay, that woke me up, so I think we better jump up and down, okay? Here we go. Jump, 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 up and down, and jump, 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 up and down, and jump, 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 up and down. I'm so glad to see you. Let's see. Should we twirl around in a circle? I think we should. Let's pretend that we are a butterfly twirling around in a big grove of flowers. Here we go. Twirl, 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 round and round, and twirl, 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 round and round, and twirl, 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 round and round. I'm so glad to see you. Okay, now we're at that part of the song, my favorite part. We're going to make some funny faces. Here we go. Little bunny like that bunny at the piano. I'm so glad to see you. Good job, everybody. Let's wave hello. Here we go. Hello, how are you all? Hello, how are you all? Hello, how are you? I'm just fine today. Good job, you guys. That was great. Well, why don't we get started with some fabulous, fabulous books. And today we're going to be doing a book from Epic. And I'm going to start the first with my good friend Shel Silverstein. And we're going to do a reading from Where the Sidewalk Ends, because you know how much I love Shel and love to start the day with Shel. This is called Treehouse. A treehouse. A free house, a secret you and me house, a high up in the leafy branches, cozy as can be house. A street house, a neat house. Be sure to wipe your feet house. Is not my kind of house at all. Let's go live in a tree house. Ooh, look at that. Wouldn't you love to live in a tree house? I think I would love to live in a treehouse. I love heights. I love being way up high. And I love the idea of climbing a ladder to get up to my room every day. Wouldn't that be fun? A treehouse. Ooh, I want to go build a treehouse, but I need a tree. I have a little bit of trouble there. Well, today, our first book is from Epic, and it's all about trees. It's called Who Will Plant a Tree? And Who Will Plant a Tree is by Jerry Pallotta with illustrations by Tom Leonard. Who will plant a tree? I wonder who will plant a tree. Last fall, a squirrel buried an acorn. He didn't know it, but he planted an oak tree. Seeds stuck to the messy fur of an apple-eating black bear. He looks like he's enjoying that apple, doesn't he? The bear tripped, a seed fell off, and he planted an apple tree. A goose migrating with a chestnut burr stuck to her feathers. Can you see that? Right there in the middle there, stuck to her. Miles away, the burr came off, and she planted a chestnut tree. It's amazing how many different kinds of trees there are. A dolphin pushed a coconut into ocean currents. The coconut floated to an island, and a palm tree grew. Ants marched a pine nut down their tunnel. They didn't know it, but they planted a pine tree. Cherry seeds got caught on the tail of a wild horse. Look how beautiful that horse is. She swished her tail. A seed fell and grew into a cherry tree. I love cherries. A beaver used his sharp teeth to chop down a maple tree. Look at him go. Crash! Maple trees were planted along the riverbank. See those? Oh, those maple seeds are really neat. They look like they have wings. Playful monkeys threw figs at each other. They look like they're having fun, huh? They planted fig trees. Stop it! Don't throw food. A moose got a pear tree branch stuck in its antlers. Well, look at that. That's a whole branch stuck in his antlers. It walked and walked. As pears fell off, trees were planted. An owl swallowed a mouse that had been eating elm tree seeds. Ooh, look at that owl. Look at those eyes. Later, the owl coughed up an owl pellet and an elm tree grew. In the Amazon River, a pacu ate floating fruit. Those funny-looking fish. It pooped seeds. Trees were planted all over the rainforest. That's a funny way for seeds to get planted, huh? A camel chewed some dates and then spit the seeds out. Evidently, camels like to spit. It wasn't long before a seed grew into a date palm tree. A wren flies to her nest with a juniper berry in her beak. She's pretty, isn't she? Look at her fly. Oops! The tasty fairy fell, and the wren planted a juniper tree. A teacher taught her students all about trees. Oh dear. Where'd that go? There it is. She looks like a nice teacher, doesn't she? And look at all those seedlings. They went on a field trip and planted trees. What fun! Wait a second. Did an elephant just plant a tree? And that's called Who Will Plant a Tree? And I have to thank Epic Books for putting out books on the internet so that I can use them, because I am running out of books. So I am throwing this out to you, my audience. If anybody lives in San Francisco or South San Francisco and you have favorite books and you want to lend them to me, I will certainly pick them up from your porch or your front door, wherever. We will socially distance, and I will make sure that they get back to you. So if you want to lend me your books and be my lending library, I would take that most happily. Well, let's sing a silly song about a seed. It's actually an acorn. It goes like this. I'm an acorn, small and round, lying on the cold hard ground. Everybody walks on me, that is why I'm cracked, you see. I'm a nut, I'm a nut, I'm a nut. Call myself on the telephone just to hear me golden tone. Ask me out for a little date, pick me up at 8:30. I'm a nut, I'm a nut, I'm a nut, I'm a nut. Took myself to a movie show, stayed too late and said let's go. Took my hand and led me out, drove me home and gave a shout. I'm a nut, I'm a nut, I'm a nut. One more time. I'm an acorn, small and round, lying on the cold hard ground. Everybody walks on me, that is why I'm cracked, you see. I'm a nut, I'm a nut, I'm a nut, I'm a nut. Okay, that's just a silly little song. I couldn't help myself. Since we're doing stuff today, you and I, all about nature, I thought I had to sing a silly song about being a nut. So I thought that would be fun. Now, the book that I have next for you is a really, really wonderful story from Africa, and it is called The Name of the Tree. Now, what's fun about this book, everybody, is I bought it at a sale, and let's see if you can figure out where it came from. Look at this. It has a library card, and it still has the barcode right up there, and the pocket. This came from a library that they were selling it, and I picked it up because it's such a great, great story. It is called The Name of the Tree, and it's a Bantu tale retold by Celia Barker Lottridge with illustrations by Ian Wallace. And look, you can see all of the stamps of all the places that it has been. This says, for all the storytellers of Toronto, young and old, and to Mary Ann, Joanne, and Theo with gratitude, and to Stephen Gamel and Cynthia Rylant, who unwittingly sowed the seed. And this is called The Name of the Tree. Now the pictures are done, I believe, in pencil, so they might be a little hard to see, but I'll try to get those nice and close for you. The Name of the Tree. Once, long ago, in the land of the short grass, there was a great hunger. No rain fell and no grass grew. And the ostrich, the gazelle, the giraffe, the monkey, the rabbit, the tortoise, the zebra, and all the other animals were hungry. They searched in the jungle, and they searched by the river, and they searched on the great flat plain, but they could find nothing to eat. At last all the animals gathered together, and they said, Let us go together across the great flat plain until we come to something that we can eat." And so all the animals, except for the lion, who was the king and lived in the jungle, walked across the flat, empty land. They walked and walked, and after many days they saw a small bump at the edge of the flat land. Then they saw that the small bump was a tree. And the tree was very tall, and the tree had fruit on it, such fruit as they had never seen before. It was red as pomegranates, and yellow as bananas, as green as melon, and as purple as plums, as orange as mangoes, and it smelled like all the fruits of the world. Oh, look at that beautiful tree. But the tree was so tall and the branches so high that even the giraffe couldn't reach the fruit. And the trunk was so smooth that even the monkey couldn't climb the tree. And the animals sat on the ground and cried because the fruit smelled so good and they were so hungry. At last, when they were too tired to cry any longer, a very old tortoise spoke. "Oh, animals," she said, "my great-great-great-grandmother told me a story about a wonderful tree. The fruit of that tree was delicious and good to eat, but it could not be reached. It could only be reached by those who knew the name of the tree." And the animals cried out, "Oh, but who can tell us the name of the tree?" The very old tortoise answered, "The king knows. We must send someone to ask him." "I will go," said the gazelle. "I'm the fastest runner of us all." And that was true. So the gazelle started out across the great flat plain, and he ran like an arrow shot from a bow. And as he ran, he thought, "Oh, how lucky the animals are that I am here and willing to go to the king. No one runs as fast as I." Indeed, it was not long before the gazelle reached the jungle and the place by the river where the king lived. The king was sitting with his tail neatly wrapped around him. Every hair of his golden coat lay smooth and shining, and he spoke kindly to the gazelle. "What do you wish of me?" he said. "Oh, great king," said the gazelle, "all the animals are hungry, and we have found a tree that is filled with wonderful fruit, but we cannot eat of the fruit tree until we know the name of the tree."
"I will tell you," said the lion, "but you must remember, for I don't want to have to tell anyone else. The name of the tree is Ungali."
"Ungali," said the gazelle. "I will run as fast as the wind, and I will reach the tree before I can possibly forget." The gazelle thanked the king and began to run through the jungle and across the great flat plain. He thought about how happy all the animals would be and how they would thank him and be grateful to him. He thought about this so hard that he did not see a rabbit hole that lay in his path not far from where the animals were waiting. He stepped in it and went head over hoof, and he landed in a heap at the foot of the tree. "What's the name of the tree?" shouted the animals. The gazelle shook his head. He shook it again. The name was gone. "I can't remember," he whispered. The animals groaned. "Ugh, we will have to send someone else," they said. "Someone who will not forget."
"I will go," said the elephant. "I never forget anything."
The animals nodded, for this was true, and so the elephant strode off across the great flat plain.
"I will not forget," she said to herself. "I can remember anything I choose to, even the names of all my cousins."
And the elephant had hundreds of cousins.
or the names of all the stars in the sky.
When the elephant arrived at the edge of the river, the king was sitting in his usual place, but the end of his tail was twitching, and his fur was ruffled.
"What do you want?" he growled. "Oh, king," said the elephant, "all the animals are hungry."
"I know," said the lion, "and you want to know the name of the tree with the wonderful fruit. I will tell you, but don't you forget, because I absolutely will not tell anyone else. The name of the tree is Ungali."
"I will not forget," said the elephant haughtily. "I never forget anything."
And she turned and began to make her way out of the jungle. That king does not look very happy, does he?
"Forget," grumbled the elephant to herself. "Me forget? Why, I can remember the name of all the trees in the jungle."
And she began to name them. And when she had finished the jungle trees, she went on to all the other trees in Africa. She was just starting on the trees in the rest of the world when she stepped into that same rabbit hole that the gazelle had tripped in. Her foot fit exactly into the hole, so exactly that she couldn't get it out. The animals waiting under the tree saw the elephant and ran towards her, calling, "What is the name of the tree?" The elephant pulled and tugged and pulled and tugged, and at last, with a great pop, her foot came out of the hole.
"No, I can't remember," she said crossly, "and I don't care. That tree has caused far too much trouble already."
The animals didn't even groan. They were too tired and too hungry. The animals had nothing to say. And the little tortoise, whoops, I missed a page there. After a long time, a very young tortoise spoke. "Oh, animals," he said, "I will go and find out the name of the tree."
"You?" said the animals. "But you're so young. You're so small. You're so slow."
"Yes," said the very young tortoise, "but I know how to remember. I learned from my great-great-great-grandmother, the one who told you about the tree." The animals had nothing to say, and the little tortoise was already on his way. It is true that he was slow, but by putting one short leg ahead of the other, he crossed the great flat plain. He went through the jungle and arrived at the place by the river where the king lived. Ooh, look how dry and parched that land is. The king was not sitting in his usual place. He was pacing up and down the bank of the river, waving his tail. His fur was standing on end. And when he saw the very young tortoise, he roared, "If you have come to ask me the name of the tree, go home. I have told the gazelle and I have told the elephant that the name of the tree is Ungali, and I will not tell you." Roar! The very young tortoise nodded his head politely, and then he turned and began to walk out of the jungle. He's a very, very brave little tortoise, isn't he? As he walked, he said, "Ungali, Ungali, the name of the tree is Ungali, 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 the name of the tree is Ungali." And he went on saying it as he crossed the great flat plain. "Ungali, Ungali, the name of the tree is Ungali." And he never stopped saying it, even when he got tired, even when he got thirsty, because that is what his great-great-great-grandmother taught him to do. And even when he fell right to the bottom of that same rabbit hole, the very young tortoise just climbed out saying, "Ungali, Ungali, the name of the tree is Ungali." None of the animals saw him coming. They were sitting under the tree looking at the ground. The very young tortoise walked straight up to the foot of the tree and said in a loud voice, "The name of the tree is Ungali."
the animals looked up. They saw the branches of the tree bend down so low that they could reach the wonderful fruit that was as red as pomegranates, as yellow as bananas, as green as melons, as purple as plums, as orange as mangoes, and smelled like all the fruits of the world. The animals ate and ate until they could eat no more, and then they lifted that very young tortoise high into the air and marched around the tree, and they chanted, Ungali, Ungali, the name of the tree is Ungali, because they did not want to forget. And they never did. Ah, and look. Can you see what's happening in the distance there? There's lightning. And you know what that means? If there's lightning, there will be rain and maybe an end to the drought. So that is called The Name of the Tree. It's one of my favorite stories. I just love that little tortoise, he remembers that by just saying it over and over and over again. Sometimes it's very hard to remember things. I know that I forget things all the time. But he repeated it and repeated it and repeated it, and he was able to remember. And they needed it because they were all so hungry. And the little tortoise saved all the animals. Well, this is a silly song, but it's about water. And since they needed water for the name of the tree, I thought it would be fun to sing. It's called She Waded in the Water. And we're going to touch parts of our bodies as we say them. So we're going to start with our toes. Then we're going to start with our ankles. Then we're going to start with our shins. And then after our shins, we get our knees. And after our knees, we get our thighs. So as I say those parts of your body, if you will touch those, that would be great. And you're also going to be a part where I go. And when I do that, can you clap your hands with me? And then there's one other thing to do. We're going to sing the chorus, and the chorus goes, Glory, glory, hallelujah. Why don't you march around to the very, very best marching that you can do? So that's 3 things that I've given you to do, huh? You are going to touch the part of the body that I talk about. You are going to clap your hands when I touch my guitar like this. And you are going to march around the room when we sing Glory, glory, hallelujah together. Okay, are you ready? So this is called She Waded in the Water. She waded in the water and she got her toes all wet. She waded in the water and she got her toes all wet. She waded in the water and she got her toes all wet, but she didn't get her wet yet. March, glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. She didn't get her wet yet. Hey, now touch your ankles. She waded in the water and she got her ankles wet. She waded in the water and she got her ankles wet. She waded in the water and she got her ankles wet, but she didn't get her wet yet. Let's march. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. She didn't get her wet yet. Now let's touch our shins. She waded in the water and she got her shins all wet. She waded in the water and she got her shins all wet. She waded in the water and she got her shins all wet, but she didn't get her clap, clap, wet yet. Let's march. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. She didn't get her wet yet. Knees waded in the water and she got her knees all wet. She waded in the water and she got her knees all wet. She waded in the water and she got her knees all wet, but she didn't get her wet yet. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Celia. She didn't get her wet yet. She waded in the water and she finally got it wet. She waded in the water and she finally got it wet. She waded in the water and she finally got it wet. She finally got her bathing suit wet. I know, that's a silly little song, isn't it? Well, I thought that we would do together one reading from A.A. Milne's When We Were Very Young. And this is a story called, poem called Daffodowndilly. That's right, Daffodowndilly. Now, when I was a little girl, my grandfather used to call daffodils daffodilly down downs, and I think that he might have gotten it from this book. And this is A.A. Milne's When We Were Very Young, with decorations by Ernest H. Shepard, and it's called Daffodowndilly. And I'll show you the picture first, because it's a short little poem. And that is a daffodil, which is one of my favorite flowers. She wore her yellow sunbonnet. She wore her greenest gown. She turned to the south wind and curtsied up and down. She turned to the sunlight and shook her yellow head and whispered to her neighbor, "Winter is dead." There she is, the Daffodowndilly. Or as my grandpapa used to call them, daffodilly down downs. Well, guys, that's the end of today's story time. I do hope you'll come back tomorrow when I'll have many more stories for you. And once again, I would just want to say thank you for joining me today. And if you're free and you want to come to art class, make sure you leave me a note in the comment section, and I will send you the code for the Zoom room, because I have art class at 3 o'clock today. This is Monday, and I have art class at 3 o'clock today, Pacific Standard Time. And if you want to join us, I would love that. You just need paper, pencils, coloring things like crayons or markers, scissors and tape, and that's all you need to make some fun art. Oh, except your imagination. Well, it's time to say goodbye, so let's say goodbye. Goodbye, Maya. Goodbye, Bella. Goodbye, Allie. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, Gabriella. Goodbye, Madeline. Goodbye, Lillian. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Danny. Goodbye, Satnam. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, Tracy. Goodbye, Delilah. Goodbye, Frida. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, everybody. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you again for spending time with me.